Wherever you are in the world, good day, good people, good day, and welcome to Wow. It is a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday, indeed, and it is a great day to wow someone. And by wow, I mean to wish only well all across the world. I am so excited today about my very special guest who is joining us once again to wow us. To help us to have a better understanding of boundaries and how those boundaries are important also in our professional capacity. So I am not going to take up too much time because I know that she has a lot of good information to share with us. So I am going to introduce my special guest who will be with me here on today's show. She is not new to WOW. We brought her back again because her information was so good the last time that we ran out of time. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest today is none other than Barb Nangle. Barb Nangle is a boundaries coach and the founder and CEO of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting LLC and the host of the podcast Fragmented to Whole Life Lessons from 12 Step Recovery. At the age of 52, after decades of therapy and tons of self help work in a variety of areas, Barb found herself in 12 step recovery. She's been in two such fellowships since then and has changed deeply and profoundly as a result. As a former addict and people pleasing rescuer, she empowers people to live their lives on purpose by coaching them to form healthy boundaries in their personal and professional lives. She is definitely a wild woman, guys. So, without further ado, let's welcome to the show once again, Barb Nangle.
Hey,
Hi, Barb.
SherVonne. So
Welcome,
good to
welcome,
be
welcome.
here. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot compete with those fabulous glasses and those fabulous earrings.
Thank you so much. Listen, I am so excited about these because a guest 2 shows ago, Coach Delacroix, talked about wearing the big frame glasses. And I was at this awesome event over the weekend and was able to get my glasses and these
Nice.
fabulous earrings. So
Love
shout
it.
out
Love
to
it.
Lachey
You are
for being
making
able
some
to help me with
statements.
that. Well, Barb, this is your show tonight. I
All
wanted you to come on
right.
and have absolutely as much time as you need within the
Okay.
show to tell us about boundaries and how
Mm-hmm.
we could, do good. I'm gonna sit back and listen and turn the show
All
over to
right.
you. Okay?
Sounds
Sounds good?
good. Sounds good.
All right, let's
Thank
go.
you so much for having me back, SherVonne. So, as she mentioned, I was on the show before, and for some reason, I thought I had an hour. And so, when we got to like 28 minutes, she was like, "You only have 2 minutes left." And so, I'm back to share more because what I spent the bulk of the time last time doing was talking about my personal story. And because of my history in 12 step recovery, that's sort of what we do in recovery is we share our personal story and we call it sharing our experience, strength, and hope. And it's essentially here's what it was like, here's what happened, and here's what it's like now. So that other people in the rooms with us know like I'm one of you. And if they're new, they know, oh, they get me and I belong here. And I think it really helps me as a coach too because people know that I know what I'm talking about. Like I've been where you are. I was someone who, until my early 50s, literally didn't have boundaries, but I didn't even know that that was an issue and that was what was going on. So I found out that I was codependent. I talked about that on the last episode, but just briefly, someone who's codependent is someone who's always going outside of themselves, typically for validation, but for reference. So they care about what other people think about them. They're concerned with other people's welfare way more than their own. And that's not bad. It's not bad to be concerned with other people. But when you're so concerned with them that you completely neglect yourself, that is not good and that is unhealthy. And that was me.
Right.
And so for me, I learned how to form healthy boundaries in 12 step recovery. And it was such a game changer for me that I really decided as a coach that I wanted to hone in on boundaries because partly every client I ever worked with really needed help with boundaries, partly because I am super good at helping people to form healthy boundaries. And I think it's because I know what it feels like in my
Yeah,
body
sure.
and in my
Hmm.
life to not have
Hmm.
them. And I know the freedom that I feel from having them. And so I'm able to articulate that difference. And then also, what were the things that I did? And then I also wanted to have some kind of a niche, and it just made total sense for me because a lot of people have an idea of what boundaries are. And the other thing is boundaries permeate every single area of your life. And my
Yeah.
experience is when you shore up your boundaries in one area of your life, it actually has a cascade effect into all the other areas of your life. And I was just talking with a sponsee in one of my 12-step programs earlier this evening about boundaries. And we were talking about the notion of energy and how my experience is that when you start to have healthy boundaries in your life, a
Mhm.
lot more energy becomes available to you. And I think that's for several
Wow.
reasons. One,
Yeah.
I'm now living just the one life, mine. I'm not like in everybody else's life managing their stuff. So I get
See
to keep that
that.
energy that I was
Yeah.
expending out there. Two, when we have healthy boundaries, part of that means that we take good care of ourselves. So when you take
Mhm.
good care of yourself, you get more energy. So that gives me
That's
more energy.
true. Yeah.
Three, when I have good boundaries, I'm living my life the way I want to live it, not the way that other people want me to live it.
Mhm.
So that means that I don't have a lot of resistance in my life. So the energy I was pushing against things that I didn't really like, I was doing things I didn't really want to do, all of that energy is available to me.
Mhm. Wow.
And then when you live your life on purpose, which is what I call living with healthy boundaries, you're doing things that give you energy and you're stopping doing things that drain your energy. So then you have all that energy available to you. So it just, I have so much more energy than I ever had before in my life. So there's really something about this energy. And I do want to say one other thing before I go into talking about like how do you do this whole boundaries thing
Sure. Sure.
about energy. And it's that my experience, and this is not just my experience, this is what I've seen from other people in recovery and also all of my clients, that something happens energetically to us when we start to form healthy boundaries, whereby it's almost like other people's stuff that used to, like, at least emotionally penetrate me. It's almost like I have this force field up, and their stuff doesn't penetrate me. And I'm not doing anything purposefully, it's just what happens. So
Mhm.
people that used to trigger me, for example, and my system would get activated just being around them now doesn't trigger me anymore. And there's some kind of energetic thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I don't know
Yeah.
how to teach that, but it's just the experience that I have and so many other people that I know has. So, that has everything to do with energy.
Mhm.
So one of the things or not one of the things, the thing I wanted to focus on today, because I talked in really general terms last time about boundaries, was about having boundaries in your business. I do a lot of networking with women, especially women, but with entrepreneurs in general, but especially with women. And
Mhm.
I identify strongly as a woman entrepreneur. And it's my experience that so many women entrepreneurs have horrendous boundaries in their business. So they
Yeah.
end up getting super burnt out.
Mhm.
They're not able to reach their goals. They're not able to be there for their family in the way that they want to. And I think the number one thing that I hear from women business owners and the ones that I've worked on with boundaries, the thing they all want to
Mhm.
work on is what I would call working on their business instead of in their business. So,
Oh.
for example, I
Mhm.
work with a woman who is a web developer and a web designer. And for 20 years, she's been doing this. For years, she has wanted to create a YouTube channel and then eventually courses to teach people how to do some of the pretty basic things that they could be able
Yeah.
to do. And then she could sell those courses, and that would
Mhm.
free her up to do some of the things she likes to do, like bike riding. She loves to go on bike rides, and she likes to go on like a minimum of a 2 hour bike
Yeah.
ride,
Sure.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
She never, every time she puts time on her calendar to work on creating those videos, she never does it because it's for her. It's not for her clients, and she lets her clients work, take
Mhm.
precedent over
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
And then she also has clients who she's been working with them for years and she never raises their prices. So she's losing the potential stream of income that she could get if she made these videos for herself. And she's also not speaking up to her client and saying, listen, the
Right.
prices have changed. So she's not getting paid her worth and she's getting burnt out and she's getting resentful of her clients and then she's mad at herself, blah, 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 blah. So
Yes.
working
Yes.
with me, she's learned how to set boundaries with herself
Yes.
to allow herself to follow through.
Yes.
I have another client. This wasn't so much about doing stuff in her business for herself, it was taking care of herself. So she's a therapist. And she's actually a therapist for the Black community who
Uh-huh.
provides trauma recovery. And a lot of
Mm.
trauma recovery
Ooh-wee.
has to
Yeah.
do with the body. And we
Yeah.
have to take care of our bodies because the issues are in our tissues. And so she's teaching all of her clients all this stuff. Meanwhile, not
She,
getting time to herself to take care
yeah,
of herself.
been there. Yeah, for
So
sure.
after working with me, she
Mhm.
started establishing a routine for herself and actually following through on it. So these are the kinds of issues that I see women that have businesses doing. Like they're basically not following through for themselves. And so I've really thought about like what do I think are the essential elements of boundaries in your business that will help
Mhm.
women? And I think it comes down to five things. So the first thing is getting clarity on your values. So
Mm.
your values are the things that are the most important to you in your life. And I tell my clients, pick your top 3 to 5 values. They always pick five. And it doesn't mean you don't have more values than that. Of course you do. But if you pick the
Right.
top five, or at least five of the most important values to you, it will help you. And then you start making decisions about how you spend your life, where your boundaries are going to be, whether
Mhm.
it's your time, your energy, your love, or your money, whatever your resources are.
Mhm.
You do your boundaries in alignment with your values. So, for example, the woman who wanted to do more self care, health is a very high value. Hey, Justina, health is a very high value. So that means that she needs to put her money where her mouth is. So sometimes our boundaries have to do with our money. So that means she actually went out and bought a spin bike. She had been doing some other form of exercise that she didn't even really like and had to go out of her home to do it. And she was like, why am I doing this when I know that I'm never going to follow through on it? So she paid money and then she also dedicated time every single morning, but then she watches videos when she does it. So she found a way to like feel like she was still doing something quote productive, but at the
Mhm.
same time taking care of herself. So getting clear on what your values are, that helps you decide when and where to set the boundaries. Because I know most people when they're learning how to set boundaries, they're like, I don't know what my boundaries are because
Mhm.
I've never set them before. Well, the way you know what they are is by looking at what's important to you, right?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So if you say, my family is really important to me, but you don't ever spend time with your family, or when you do, you're on the phone or you're checking emails, you're doing text messages, you're not living in alignment with your values. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of crappy
This is
feelings that
good.
happen about
Mhm.
that. Like we know it's chipping away at your integrity when you do that.
Yeah.
So
This is
starting
good.
with values
Mhm.
is the most important thing. Then I think the next thing is learning to keep the focus on yourself. So if you're anything like I was before I had boundaries, you're always focused out there. Who are they doing? What are they doing? How can I help these people, rescue these people, save this situation? And we neglect ourselves. So I talk about 4 different ways of keeping the focus on yourself. So the first one is when you come up with a situation, you ask yourself, what do I want or need or prefer in this situation? That was not something I ever thought about.
Ever.
So you want
Wow.
to start asking, like, what do I want and need? The second one is um, what I call minding your own business. So most of the time when we say
I
mind
love
your business, we're not talking about business most of the
it.
time. It's
Right.
a colloquial expression, but in this case, it really means mind your own business. So I have another client I was working with,
Mhm.
and she's an operations and strategic planning person, right? She's had a long-standing client who she absolutely adores, and the problem is the scope of the work has increased enormously, and she's
Mhm.
just not having the conversation. She's literally minding her client's business
And
and not
not her.
minding her own business. And then I have the client with the web developer.
Uh-huh.
She was worried about charging more for her other clients because I don't know if they can afford it. You're minding their business,
And
not your
I
business.
love
Or
this part.
sometimes people are minding their competitor's business. Like, well, I can't charge that if they're not charging that. Or like you want to mind your own business.
Of
Like
course.
stop getting in other people's business. A third way that you keep the focus on yourself is to look at, this is what I learned in recovery, is we call it my part in things. And what that means in recovery is, what are the things that I was doing in my life that were creating the chaos and exacerbating the chaos, etc. But when it comes to your business, if there's something about your business that is not working for you or that you don't like, if you're the owner of the business, then you have a role in that. Even if it's someone else's job to do it, there's something that you're doing that's making it okay for them to do things the way they are. So if you're in charge, then you're in charge. And you have to figure out, like, what is it that I have been doing or not doing that is contributing to the situation that's not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last part, the fourth thing about keeping the focus on yourself is taking good care of yourself. We have this erroneous notion in this culture that self-care is somehow selfish. It is not
Yes.
selfish, it is selfless. So remember in the airplanes when they say, hey, if the oxygen mask falls down and you're carrying someone else,
Yes.
put the oxygen mask on you first.
Right.
They
Right.
don't say this, but what they're saying is, listen, if you're passed out, you can't help that other person. So
Right.
you have to put the oxygen mask on first. Well, they didn't come up with that out of nowhere.
Right.
That's a real thing. And so there's a woman that I follow. Her name is Ashley Kirkwood. She wrote the book Speak Your Way to Cash. She's amazing. She says, don't pour from your cup, pour from the overflow. Right? Well, the only way you're going to have an overflowing
Oh,
cup is if
that's
you
real
fill it.
good.
So what
Mm-hmm.
I learned when I start taking care of myself, I fill my cup up, and I fill my cup up with love. I love myself. I take super good care of myself. I treat
Yeah.
myself as if I am beloved, because I am, and so are you. We all are.
Yes, I love
My
that.
cup is overflowing. When I go to the world, I go to the world from a place of abundance. And what I
Mhm.
have to give is love, because I've filled myself with it. I'm not going to the world to get love. See, I didn't know when I was doing all that people pleasing stuff that ultimately it was because I wanted people to like me or think good things of me. I wasn't aware of that at the time. So I was going to the world to get stuff, which was approval. And now I go to the world to give stuff. So I come from a place of abundance in that regard. And then I also come to the world from a place of abundance of energy, as I talked about at the very beginning.
Mhm.
I am actually losing my train of thought here. So I talked about values, focus on yourself. I actually have some notes here. This is
Minding your
what happened.
business.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then it's developing empowered communication. That's the next part
Mhm.
of having healthy boundaries in your business. So many of us are not used to directly communicating with other people. I know that I didn't even know that in my family, you didn't ever talk to the person you had a problem with. You talked to everybody around them, and you didn't talk about the problem. You talked
Right.
about the person
That's
that's
not
fucked
gonna
up,
right.
right?
Mm.
And so it's impossible to really convey boundaries which are clear. You have to have clarity with your boundaries unless you speak clearly. So we don't beat around the bush. We don't imply. We don't read people's minds. We don't expect people to read our minds. We come right out and we say things like, please don't do that. Or don't put that there. Or, when it comes to work, say, I need you to be here on time.
Mhm.
I'm only going to pay you for the hours that you work. You just come right out and you say the direct things. And it may be difficult, but here's the thing. If you have been living your entire life without boundaries, you can do difficult. And I know that because living without boundaries is really difficult. And that kind of difficult is perpetual. It doesn't go away. And in fact, your life actually gets worse. But the kind of difficult that you go through when you start learning how to have healthy boundaries is actually short lived, because once you get used to it, it's no longer difficult. And on the other side of that is healing. You
Wow.
heal the relationship you have with the people that you're communicating directly
Mm.
with. And
Beautiful.
so we learn how to have empowered communication.
Mhm.
And all of these things enable us to be able to show up for ourselves. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning, is these women that I've worked with in coaching them that are business owners is they're not showing up for themselves. They might be showing up for their business. They're probably showing up for their clients and their employees, but they're not showing up for themselves. And the way that you learn to show up for yourself is to live in alignment with your values, to keep the focus on yourself, and to use empowered communication. So, all of those elements together enable you to have healthy boundaries in your business. So, I'm going to stop there to see if you would like to say anything or ask me any questions, and also get a check on the time because I wasn't even aware of how much time
Oh,
it
you're good. We have about 9 minutes to go before the
Okay.
whole show ends. So you're doing
Okay.
really well. I'm just
Okay.
drawn in by all of this because I think that it's awesome that you're sharing this information, even though
Mhm,
we're talking specifically about the role of in our
mhm,
professional lives. But
mhm, mhm,
as you mentioned, even in your conversation about boundaries are just
mhm.
they're important in every area of our lives, and so
Absolutely.
this is
Yeah.
like really good stuff, right? I'm
Yeah.
sitting there like, yes, this is good. This
Yeah.
is good. Like, right.
Yeah, and I often when I talk, I have a PowerPoint presentation and I don't have that today, so I did forget one element, so I'd like to go back and
Sure,
say
sure.
that, when I coach my clients, we work on altering your mindset. So partly that has to do with like debunking the misconceptions or the sometimes the unconscious scripts that we have in our heads. So there's
Mhm,
a lot of negative self-talk often going on in there. And
mhm.
so we learn to like bring that stuff to the surface and then debunk it, and then also deconstruct any old patterns that we have. So we're learning how to alter our mindset. And I think no matter what kind of behavior change you're trying to engage in, whether it's learning how to have healthy boundaries or adopt other healthy habits in your life, mindset matters so much. It has everything to do with how your life unfolds, because it's what's going
Yes,
on in here that is your actual experience of life.
yeah,
It's not really what happens
right.
out here. So I'll give you a couple of mindset shifts that are so
Yes,
easy
please
to
do.
implement. So one is I hear people say all the time, I need to blah 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 blah. No, you don't need to. You get to. Or I have to blah blah blah. No, you get to do these things. And here's why that matters. Because when you need to do something or you have to do something, it's as if it's being imposed from the outside on you. When
Mhm,
you get to do something,
mhm.
you're choosing it. It's a choice that you have.
That's it, yeah,
And think about the difference between when someone tells you you have to do something and when you get to do something. There's
right,
this freedom that comes from getting to do
yeah,
something. So you
right,
don't have to do any of this.
right.
You get to do this stuff. And
Mhm.
so having choice is really important. Another mindset shift, I learned this expression in recovery, and I cannot tell you how much I love this. The expression, which I will break down in a moment, is this: info, not ammo. So when you're trying new behaviors and you mess up, or when you're starting to see these negative self-talk that you have, or you learn negative things about yourself,
Mhm.
instead of using it as ammunition to beat yourself up, think of it as information to learn and grow from. So it's info, not ammo.
Right.
This has
Wow.
helped me so much because one of the things I realized when I got into recovery,
Mhm.
even though I've always had pretty high self esteem, I was kind of always looking for reasons to beat myself up. And I did that in spades. I was just beating the crap out of myself all the time. So when
Mhm.
I heard this expression, info, not ammo, I was like, oh, that's right. This is info, not ammo. And I
Oh,
love
wow.
it's so short that it's super easy to remember. And I think that that's one of the most common things that my clients tell me at the end of when I do a coaching program with them. I'm like, what's the biggest takeaway? And they're like, info, not ammo. So many people say
I love it.
because
Yes.
I know that I'm not alone in terms of the like always wanting to beat yourself up. And then another thing that's very similar to that in terms of a mindset shift, this is another term I learned in recovery, and it's the term flawsome. So it's a blending of flaw and awesome.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I love this term. I
Yeah.
am blossom, you are blossom,
Oh,
SherVonne. Everyone
blossom.
is blossom. So what this means is that just because you are flawed does
Mhm.
not mean you are not awesome. And also, just because you're awesome doesn't mean you're not flawed.
Yeah,
So we're
right.
flawed in our awesomeness and we're awesome in our flawedness. And
Yeah,
this was really meaningful for me
love
because
it.
I realized in recovery that I had somehow internalized this idea that I was not supposed to have flaws. And if I had flaws, I damn well better hide them.
Right.
And so I was a very defensive person because I didn't want people to see behind the facade that I actually was a flawed person. And then when I really got like, oh, okay, it's sort of normal to be flawed, and also everybody else is flawed, and I realized I was really judging myself, which
Mm-hmm.
by the way meant I was judging all of you too. So when I stopped judging myself and allowed myself to be blossom, I stopped judging other people so much too, and cuts like, and so there's another reason why more energy became available to me because I wasn't on the defensive all the time,
Yes. Oh
you
my
know.
God.
So those are some of my quick tip mindset shifts that I wanted to share.
I
Um,
love it.
so I see
Your
we have
words are
just
being shared here. I was
yeah.
just looking at the comments.
Oh, good, good, good. I love it. I love it. So I do have a special offer for people
Okay,
who
tell
are
us about
watching
it.
or listening. So just today, my course, 6 Weeks to Better Boundaries, got launched. And it is normally,
Congratulations.
thank you. It has been in the works for so long. It's a dream come true. I'm so excited.
Yay.
So here's the thing. It is normally going to be $149
Mm-hmm.
included with a 6 week course. If you finish it,
Wow,
you get
that's
a free 1 hour one-on-one coaching session with me if you finish it. And honestly, the coaching
wow.
session is normally worth more than 149.
Yeah, for sure.
However, for the first three people that are listening
Three.
to this that
One,
sign
two,
up,
three.
first three,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to get $50 off. So
Oh, awesome.
here's how you find it. So you go to betterboundarieswithbarb.com. And the coupon code is WOW Boundaries. WOW is all caps. And hold on, I think boundaries is all lowercase. Let me just double check.
Okay.
Yes, lowercase. So WOW Boundaries is your coupon code. So it's betterboundarieswithbarb.com. WOW Boundaries is your coupon code. So the first three people who put in that coupon code are going to get $50 off. So it's only $99 for 6 weeks to Better Boundaries with Barb. So there are videos, there are podcasts, there are articles, and then there are worksheets. So you're going to watch the video first, then you're going to read the articles and listen to the podcast to more internalize what you're learning, and then you're going to do worksheets where you're going to actually apply what you're learning to your life. At the end of the 6 weeks, when you finish it, you're going to be able to sign up for a free one-on-one 1 hour coaching session with me, which, like I said, is worth more than the 149 price. And you guys are going to get it for 99. So there you go.
There you There you have it. And I'm going to put the information up once again so that you can see it. 6 weeks to Better Boundaries with Barb. You cannot beat that. The first three people, you're going to be very lucky, very
Yeah.
blessed indeed to be able to get this. 149 and you're gonna deduct $50 from that. That's
Mhm.
just awesome. You got to use the promo code the WOW Boundaries. Okay, WOW,
Right.
all caps, boundaries, all lowercase letters. So go, go, go right now. Three people to sign up for this. So if you're watching this live, now is your moment. Don't wait. Don't even think about it because you might just miss out. So sorry for the people who
Right.
have to watch this
Exactly.
on the
Yeah.
replay.
Yeah. I do want to say I have, for people who don't want to spend any money, I have a lot of free stuff on Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching on Instagram. I do reels Monday through Friday, 1 minute every day, all about boundaries. I got a ton of them. They're free on there. And then also, if you're on Instagram, there's a link on there to a page on my website that has a bunch of free resources on boundaries. I have a podcast where 19 of my episodes are about boundaries. There's a playlist linked on that page with the free resources on my website. So if you're on Instagram, go there because all my stuff is on there and it's all
Wow.
free.
Great. And
Yeah,
there you
wow.
guys. Yes, it is. Wow, this is awesome. Yes. Barb, I just love you. I love you coming on and
Oh,
sharing
thank
this
you.
free,
Thank
great
you.
information. And I hope that
Awesome.
3 people will take advantage, more than 3 people, because even at
I hope
149,
so
that's still a
too.
value. That is more than a value. So please
Mm,
go now and do it. Listen, this is all of our time for the day. Thank you so much, Barb, for coming on and being a special guest
my
here on
pleasure. Thank
Wow.
you.
We appreciate you. And listen, I'm so shout out to all of my viewers that watch us live and even on the replay. We thank you so much for it. Listen, today, as in any day, is a great day to wow someone. And by wow, I mean to wish only well all across the world. Don't forget, go now to get Barb's 6 weeks to better boundaries with Barb. That's it, guys. Have a
Okay,
good
guys.
rest of the
Thank
evening
you.
and a wonderful weekend.
All righty. Bye, SherVonne.